Mine is the, do you know, this, hey guys, thank you for being here and for waiting. We're, a tad late because of life. Life happens, but we are here. This is Creativity in Focus, a live video podcast where every week we talk to an artist or we talk about art and we highlight their pieces, and it's just a fun time together. Today is no different. My guest is Joshua von Warbear, and we are going to talk to him in a second, but a few announcements before. This is live for a very important reason. We love when you interact, when you ask questions, when you give your 2 cents about the topic we are covering. So do that. Wherever you're watching, there is either a chat box beside or below the video. Or if you are on social media platform, you have a comment box there. That's the right place to do it. So send questions, send comments, and I will get here on my tablet and talk to Josh about it. He will answer directly to you. That's a very unique thing that you can do on a podcast. So take advantage of that. And see, I mentioned already several times, it's a podcast. This means basically 2 things. The podcast stays forever, whatever you're watching. So if you're watching on a social media platform or on the website Creativity in Focus, it stays there, which means that you can not only re-watch, but tell your friends about it. The other good thing is that you can go to any podcast directory that you like Apple Play or Spotify or any of them, and we're there. We have a lot of episodes with a lot of amazing artists, so take a look at all those and share with people. And whatever you're watching or you decide to watch later, if they allow you to do a like, a comment, a heart, birds, whatever it is, do that, because that helps us a lot. It shows the algorithm that we have some visibility, and then it shows to more people. So if you could take a second to leave a review, a star, whatever is the symbol that they use, well, you're doing us a huge favor. Okay, so now, welcome, Joshua.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm glad to be here with you. We are going to show some of your work later, but I know you do a lot of cool stuff. Right?
I try, yeah.
So give them a glimpse of who is Joshua.
I'm a Georgia native. I am a Virgo. I'm basically a nerd pursuing his dreams. I love doing things that inspire me and helping people work on their dreams as well. I like doing leather work. I like making swords, knives, armor. I do concept art. I do stunt work. I do a little bit of acting and extra stuff here and there. A little bit of modeling.
Oh,
Nothing big.
Nothing big.
Like 7-Eleven posters.
That's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
I wish I could be on a 7-Eleven poster.
Probably could be. I mean, it's 7-Eleven. Great hot dogs.
Yeah.
But either way, yes. I just like to do the things I like to do, and somehow I've ended up falling into the ditch of it making me happy, and it just keeps perpetuating itself.
That's cool. So you tell me how long ago did you get started, especially with the cosplay and armor stuff?
Well, I think I started in creativity, like kindergarten, first grade, doing drawing and looking in comics and drawing what I saw and stuff like that. But I think I started fabricating and doing crafty stuff much like many of us did, which was trying to save $20 because you thought someone else charged way too much for it, and it turns out that's not true.
Yep.
After I spent the bracelet's $40. Oh, cool. I don't want to pay $40. I can make it for 10.
Yeah.
And after spending $200
Just on tools?
on tools and a couple pieces of leather and making the worst bracelets you've ever seen in your entire life, I just kept going. And after $2,000 in a year later and making the worst bracelets and phone cases and everything else you've ever seen in your entire life, I finally got good at it.
Good.
So luckily I had a very big support network of friends that just love me and love seeing what I do and support me. So God save all my friends who decided to buy the worst looking things I've ever made in my life, and I apologize that you own them. So that's about it.
But today you sell your stuff on shows, correct?
Right, yep.
And tell me a little bit of the venues where you sell your work.
They range from Renaissance fairs, comic conventions, Combat Con, which is a new one I did, which is coming in 2020, which I will be goofing off at. It's just a medieval convention with swords and armor and fighting. So
Which is quite popular today,
super
right?
popular.
Yeah.
It's out in Vegas every August.
Oh, nice.
And it's just fun. I just like going off and looking at swords. So I do that. I do, you know, every so often I'll pop in a shop and do a couple consignment pieces for people, or, you know, some people hire me to do that. And then I rent them for films and stuff like that, TV shows, independent films around the area, local stuff.
And your material of choice is basically leather, or do you work with other types of material?
Leather and steel.
Okay.
And I guess bronze, brass, aluminum, stuff like that. Well, paper was my first, you know, sketching and concept sketches and just being a comic book goof and trying to get stuff out there. And I did that for so many years that I think leather and steel came very naturally to me because I was already thinking in those creative concepts on paper. So now, leather, veg tan leather, oil tan leathers, love those. They have a natural quality of distress to them.
Nice.
Have a lot of personality and antiquing built into them, which I love doing. And then steel and bronze and brass, I love the finish work on that, how they patina out over the years. And it's just really fun to work with these things.
Have you tried cork at all?
Cork? I have not, no.
Ooh.
It's fun.
I like to make some purses and bags out of cork. It's a nice material to work with. Well, next time you come here, I'm going to show it. It's nice. It's very soft.
Yeah.
It's thinner than leather, so you can work with a home machine. Up to a point, you can work with a home machine.
Right, yeah.
It's not cheap. Right, because everything is imported. At
Never
this point.
is cheap. Everything is so expensive.
Yeah.
Hobbies are,
but you know, I don't know if
expensive.
we compare to leather. I think it may be on the same platform price-wise.
I think a hide of Kodiak, this right here, that's probably around 12 to 15 square feet, is about $170.
Okay, and a hide is, well, it's a big piece.
Yeah.
I think maybe the cork is a little bit more expensive at this point.
Really?
But you should try, because it's nice to work with. I want to show one of your pieces so people can get a feel of what you do, and you can tell me the story, when you make, what you used.
This piece right here is a Western-inspired saddle cuff or wrist cuff. And I don't know, when you first get started, you usually go through Tandy Leather, which is where I get all my tools and supplies from, for the most part. I'd say 80% of them. And this is what they have available. And they have a lot of Western stuff.
True.
So I was at the mercy of whatever tools my local leather provider gave me. So yeah, this is an old style, very Western steampunk style cuff. Cuffs are one of my favorite things to make because, again, they accent your wrists, and they're big sellers at Renaissance fairs and conventions.
They are?
Oh, yeah.
And I bet they are for both, for any gender.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have another? So just a second while we put out there. This is some of your wallets.
Right, yeah. These are actually one of my first two it's funny, this is like memory lane. And I apologize, those of you going through the images in the other room, because you're probably having trouble finding one of my stuff and me wearing clothes at the same time. Because if you're working in your room...
you have that trend, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of
I hate
thing.
wearing clothes while I work, unless I'm welding or doing anything fire or metal related, because of obvious reasons. But these are some of the first ones I made. One of my friends, Deanna, she taught me the style of riveting the edges, and because she knows I hate stitching and sewing. So she taught me her version of how she does things. And then I adapted to that and started making the foam pouches and stuff. So these are like the earliest prototypes of my rivet pouches. And these two went on a quiver. I call it the Utila quiver. and it's just my arrow quiver for archery that has pouches on the back, and it holds my bow and knives. And those held business cards. The one on the left held a business card, and the one on the right held all my arrow tips and all my finger gloves.
How
and stuff
long ago
like that.
did you make?
This particular one is from 2010-ish.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, coming back here, this is a more recent work that you have,
Right, yeah.
correct?
So
You
this
can
right
hold that.
here is my latest evolution of the phone wallet. Basically, I wear more costumes than actual clothes.
Okay.
Because I'm happy in life. And I decided I needed something to have my phone and all my cards and everything on me. So I designed one of these to wear on my costume. And it's just a flip case with a belt or a pocket loop. And then you flip it open, and it's got a space for your phone and then a space for all your cards. And there's usually a button stud here, but my phone's too big now, so I haven't
you
resized
took
it.
it out, yeah.
And the button stud hits here and holds it down.
Nice.
So clipped it on my costume and just had quick access to my phone and my debit card and my ID. And I just kept wearing it. And the more I wore it, the more people saw it and were like, oh man,
want it. Yeah.
I need one of those
Yeah.
for vendors for Renaissance fairs or conventions. Business card holders, some people use them to hold cigarette packs. They just, whatever, floats your boat.
I have to tell you a story. About 2 weeks ago, I was with a group of women, most my age, and we all camp with vintage trailers or
cool.
campers, right?
Yeah.
So this lady came. She was not even in the group. And she had bigger pouches, but still you would hook them to your pets, right? She sold 60 in about 30 minutes.
Yep.
Right, and it was about $35.
Yeah.
Made of jeans, nothing fancy or special.
That's great because it's cheaper.
Yeah,
Much
it's cheap.
cheaper to
Yeah,
make.
of course. But then I went and looked online, and actually there is a big trend on carrying the super tiny pockets that you can hook someplace.
The saddlebag method, modular saddlebags and pouches systems.
But not related to medieval dressing or anything. It's just people say, okay, I just want to go out with my card and my phone, period.
Right.
So why a purse or a bag?
They have the armpit holsters as well.
Oh, yeah?
That have all the cards and stuff. These pouches are huge right now.
Huge right now.
So these and my cuffs were the kind of the big starter right now because people love those the most. I sell out of them. So when I first started, I was like, I'm not mass producing anything. Because
I'm an artist.
Because I'm an artist. I don't like to make replicas of everything. But they're the biggest seller. And I don't even charge that much. I think I charge $50
okay, so that's not
for
bad
one of
at all.
those and $50 for a bracelet because I don't like doing math. So $50 is $50 is
easy.
$100, and then you just keep going.
Okay.
So yeah, I make like 30 of these at a time. So anytime I do a convention, which is generally 6 times a year, I make 30 of them, and every time I have like 3 left. Okay. So I generally sell out of them pretty quick.
That's very good. Well, I can see why.
Great business-wise, but for your hands, just not so much.
To make them?
Yeah, because you make 30 at a day, 30 at a time.
Easy.
Oh, all these little things just.
Brenda Helfrich is saying that cuff is gorgeous.
Thank you, Brenda.
And guys, if you're watching this while we are live, use the comment box or the chat box to give your comments or questions to Joshua. He'll be happy to answer anything that crosses your mind there.
Absolutely.
As long as it's family friend. 2 questions for you. So you mentioned that you started with the Western design because that's what you could find.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because in many techniques, we call them legacy techniques, is that these are art forms that if people don't empower and start making, they will disappear. They vanish.
Absolutely.
Gourd is one of them. Basketry is another. And leather, I think, has that wave, right?
Yeah.
So how did you reinvent that issue? Because not everything has to have a buffalo or an Indian head on it, right?
Yeah. I just tried to, if I couldn't use different metalwares that would have Western Native American style arts and crafts on it, I try and look overseas. I have to import some stuff from Europe that do metal crafts over there because Europe is a big hotbed for Viking, medieval, all that good stuff. And that's where I found most of it. If I couldn't find it, what I would usually do was make my own.
Okay.
So I would take a circle of leather that was very thick and then draw a design on it and then tool the design in. And make my own little metal spot, but made of leather because I couldn't find it. And I completely agree. Legacy techniques like this, my favorite quote and doing any classes is knowledge not shared dies alone.
Yes.
Which is a shame. So I am besides myself with helping people. Like I will help anyone that asks. Money or not, come learn from me. I will teach you what to do, and if you can do it better than me, you should be.
Yes.
I'm not a.
I like that attitude a lot, because we hear a lot. I don't want to teach my secrets.
Trade
and
secrets.
You keep
absolutely.
And you see that, including social media. Some groups are so protective of everything they say, and talking about money or selling is a sin. But the fact is that if you don't spread the word and you don't teach a younger generation how to make what you make, it is going to disappear, and it's a sad thing.
So interestingly enough, leatherworking is probably one of the bigger art forms I've seen that have the most protected trade secrets.
Really?
Because usually, if I'm an artist, if I like drawing, if I like painting, if I like digital art, if I like leather, swords, all these good things, I'll talk to other artists. But never in my life, starting out, have I had more trouble getting secrets out of people than with leatherworking. Because a lot of people are, no, I taught this to myself, I learned, you should go learn it somewhere else. Because it's a competitive market, and the market is very saturated in some places.
Which market is not?
Exactly.
I mean, anything that you go into.
At that point, I think people are just afraid to teach other people, because they're afraid you're going to do it better at them business-wise, and then put them out. Sword people, though, nicest guys I've ever met.
Really?
Ladies and gentlemen, nicest people I've ever met. They're just bald guys with beards. Even the women. Bald guys with beards, right? Yeah.
That's good.
Like dwarves, they're beautiful people. I love them to death.
Me too. Julie Coating, for those who like to sew, what would you look for in a sewing machine? I think she's talking about leather.
Yeah, yep. For sewing machines, I'm not the best expertise on that. I try and stay away from stitching because it's so tedious. And I'm trying to think. Tandy Leather has a decent sewing machine that's a good starter one. You're going to look for probably an older sewing machine, because they don't make them like they used to. You're going to want to look for something not brand new that's just been taken care of for a while. I wish I could come up with some brands out of my head right now, but I've never used a leather sewing machine.
I know that at Tandy they have a manual one and they have a motor one.
They have a punch one and then a foot pedal one. I would do the foot pedal one.
The foot pedal one.
Just because when you learn it, you get much quicker at it, and the more oomph it has horsepower-wise, the faster you burn through projects. Yeah.
Now, the other thing, and I have more comments here, I'll ask in a second, but you mentioned conventions and cons and things like that. Well, to many people watching, I know that they are used to bazaars, some shows.
Right.
Tell me, and of course, this is a different crowd, tell me how they are as buyers.
It depends. It really does. So I've had everything all over the spectrum. So I've had people that don't spend any money. They always get the like, I'm coming back for that in a minute, and then they vanish. Or they go, $50. I only have $4. Sorry. Or you get the people that I love these guys, the ones that just fall in love with it and then are just crushed that they can't buy it. In which case, I generally try and work with them on price, just because I'd rather someone have something they really want than carry it to my car later. You know what I mean? And leave it in a box. So there's those. And then there's some that, you assume it's late in the convention and you're just like, here's this poor kid right here. He's got no money. So you lower the item down $200 to give him a deal, but he's not going to buy it anyway. And then he goes, yeah, I'll take it, without like blinking an eye. And you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
I just screwed myself out of $200 on that one. So that's only happened 4 or 5 times.
Good,
in my life,
good.
So.
I have a saying for that. Never judge your audience. They have to figure out how to pay you. Not you say you don't have the money or something.
It's your item is worth what someone's willing to pay for it.
Exactly.
That's what it is. I've had to learn, because I used to feel bad for charging for my stuff, because I didn't think it was good enough for people to give me money for it. I was just like, you really want that? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you $8 and you can have it. Try and pay them to take it away from me, because I didn't.
You don't want to carry it to the car. I know the feeling when it's the end of the show. You just don't want to carry boxes anymore.
But you have to know your worth and never judge a customer.
True.
Let them purchase if they want to.
Right?
If they don't, no worries. It's fine. I make everything to fit me, and I make everything that I want to make.
Yeah.
So if I sell out, awesome, I have money to make more. If I don't, I get to take all this cool stuff home and put it back on my shelves.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I want to give a close-up of this beautiful wallet. You can see there on camera 8. Suzanne Barr is asking to see. She's in Switzerland.
Hi, in Switzerland.
Yeah, and look at this. Amazing
that's
work.
my ID. I look frightening.
Yeah, don't give the social right now.
I look scary.
I'm going to ask you about the process in a second, but I want to show some more of your work.
Right.
Like I believe those are knives.
Oh, those are crossguards for swords. So every so often I'll get someone that wants a specially made sword, and I'm glad I haven't had anyone that just has a drawing and sends it in, because to me, it's so hard to work with those. I much prefer as an artist for someone to go, hey, can I pay you to make something that you want to make? In which case I'm in hog heaven.
True.
But yeah, so those are crossguards for swords that I literally just made this past Saturday.
Wow.
I churned 3 out in a day. Those are about, I don't know, 8.5 inches long. And they start off with a bronze bar, and then I take measurements on the sword shoulder and tang, and then mill them out, and then I bandsaw them out, and then I shape them on a grinder.
Wow.
A lot of people are used to seeing, the medieval like pounding with a hammer and all that good stuff. And while that's a great skill to have and another legacy skill, from a business standpoint, it's a little dicey, because if it can take me, a day to make a sword, then someone will reap the benefits of that cost by it not being as expensive as if I had to fold steel, heat it up, fold steel, heat it up, fold steel, heat it up, pound it out, grind it out and everything, and take 3 months to build something, and then try and get that money out of it.
True.
So I try and use more modern techniques. That's why anyone that calls me a blacksmith, I politely decline and humbly admit that I'm a glorified machinist, not a blacksmith.
Not a blacksmith?
Sorry,
Okay.
sadly, maybe on another day. Sure, I'll do more blacksmith stuff.
Cool. And then we have a combination here of your wallet and the cuffs,
Yep.
right?
So those are my handy dandy patented leather phone wallet cases, as well as my saddle cuffs. The saddle cuff I've probably done 12 or 13 different cuffs over the course of my, 10, 15 year span of leatherworking. I don't remember how long I've been doing it.
Wow.
But yeah, the saddle cuff is probably my most popular.
Can you give me a glimpse of the process that you have to go through to make one?
Absolutely. So the leather starts off like you'd see, like a leather hide, like literally someone took the hide off a cow and unfolded it, and then quartered it or halved it or what have you into whatever leather you're going to get. I make a paper pattern first, because let me tell everyone that doesn't know yet, paper is so much cheaper than leather. If you mess up, okay, throw away $20 worth of leather. No, not so much. Make it out of paper first, see what it's going to look like on you,
Okay,
and
good.
then transfer to leather, which we'll go into in the course in October. And so the course is to cut it all out of paper, make sure it fits, transfer that paper to an actual pattern that's going to have a bit more rigidity to it, so it has a bigger shelf life for me.
Okay.
And then I cut it out, do a little bit of edge beveling, a little bit of gouge grooving, and then I get out my tools and wet the leather, casing it, and then I tool a pattern into it, and then I texture it to make it look like it's old, and then I dye it. So all those texture stamps and spots that I gouged into it, now it absorbed more leather than the rest of the piece. So then you have, instead of one brown flat piece, you have light brown, dark brown, so many values. And that's what gets me every time is seeing something that has value to it. Not value as far as monetary, but artistically
what comes
speaking.
From that piece.
Yeah, what comes from the piece, how old it looks. It has personality. It's got, it looks like it's been found on a battlefield, not bought at Viking Walmart, as I always say.
Nice.
Yeah.
A Viking Walmart. I wonder how that would be.
I'd probably still shop there, but it would be for like meat and mead, not so much swords or armors or anything like that.
That's cool. I have here a few comments. Let me put this in order here. Brenda, about the joke that you made about bald people with beards, she says that she could make swords. I have a wonderful beard.
Good. You'll fit right in.
Do you have a special place where you get your leather from? BJ Stewart is asking that.
Well, I get most of my leather from Tandy. It's a North American shop.
It's basically the only chain store we
really
have now,
is.
right?
There's Beck's Leather, but I think that is a Utah thing.
Oh, okay.
Now there's Beck's Leather, there's Tandy Leather. Tandy Leather, I get most of my stuff because as an artist, you go where you buy your supplies and you're friendly with people. So you become friends with the people that work there, or you friend everyone and wait for them to get a job there. So they call you when the sales are happening.
Good.
Because you spend $1.50 on these things so fast.
I bet.
A hide is anywhere from $50 for a quarter shoulder to $300 for a really nice hide. But yeah, Tandy Leather. There's a couple internet sources like hidehouse.com, I believe. And there's a few places out in LA Los Angeles that have a couple shops that you can buy mass amounts. A lot of it comes from Mexico, Argentina, I believe, and then Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every place they have the cows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kelly, is there anything you haven't yet created that you really want to?
Ooh, yeah, so much. I used to collect toys and comic books when I was a kid, and now I collect hobbies. I collect
Just
leatherworking.
like me. We could be
right.
best friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I collect leatherworking, metalworking. I see an art form, and I want to learn it and master it, and then keep doing it, and then make more stuff, and then just keep going like that. So I haven't been into sculpting a lot. So there's a couple things I'd love to sculpt, and then learn a bit more of the mold making and casting process.
Ooh, I know the right place for that.
I'll be around the back waiting. Which is funny because I've mentored under a few special effects gurus out there that's their livelihood, and I've always just became friends with these people and helped them on stuff. Never once occurring a thought that maybe I should learn from them. I just kind of help them out, and then I go on my little 23-year-old merrily way to do other things with my life, not thinking like, man, I totally should have learned that skill.
Because you are a personal friend with Noemi Smith.
Right, yep.
Yeah, she has an amazing course at Curious Mondo on casting.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, she's good.
Crazy talented artist
She
as well.
is good,
Oh,
yes.
for sure. So
Yeah.
I think sculpting, doing some sculpted pieces, I know that's not very specific, but I'd like to try bows at one point in time.
Bows? What's that?
Bows.
Bows?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I love archery.
Ooh.
Archery is one of my big hobbies, but I do not make arrows and I do not make bows. However, I've studied the process on YouTube and a couple times. That's how I learned leatherworking, by the way.
A lot there.
It was hard, like I was saying, it's hard to get secrets out of people. They won't teach you leather because you're just some guy that just came off the street. You know, I'm not teaching you nothing. So I just made mistakes, a lot of mistakes, which is great because as you'll hear me repeat several times throughout our relationship, success is nothing more than standing upon a mountain of failures. So I look forward to failing so that I could learn to succeed. And I failed a lot, and then I watched YouTube videos and tried to learn how to do that. And you know that worked out, but luckily I found a mentor for sword making,
which is always the best approach, right?
Absolutely.
When you finally find the mentor. I think the artists, they have this I need to figure out curse.
Yes,
right,
absolutely.
and that's why we end up collecting hobbies.
Now, crazily enough, when you have a mentor, you still don't figure that stuff out. They say stuff that may as well be gibberish in another dead language, and you're like, yeah, okay, fine. And it's not until you jump in and start making your own mistake. Like my mentor back in Florida, Chris, he taught me how to do stuff, but I had no idea what he was talking about. No idea half the time. I just would eyeball everything and go, oh, that sword looks right. Okay, yep, okay, we're good. And then, hey, how's this? And he's like, I don't know, man. That's okay, but... And then later on, you know, I'd move out here and then start doing it myself, and it'd start clicking, like linking together and going, this is what he was talking about, you know. So you can have the best mentor in the world, but none of that means anything because it's only theoretical knowledge until you dive in and get your hands dirty.
True. If you don't try. And there is this sweet feeling when you figure it out, right?
Absolutely.
So you failed and fail. There's a lot of frustration in the process. As long as you keep doing it, at some point, now I know why.
And much like math from
Yes.
school.
That I don't know. I never figured that
Had no idea
out.
what fractions were all through school.
I still don't.
And like a year ago, I'm like, oh my God, that makes sense. Half and half is a whole, and that's quarter. Oh my God.
Maybe I'm glad you figured that out.
Yeah, you know.
I would still fail. Jay is asking, where do you find the most inspiration from?
Ooh, it's got to be Tolkien stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Lord of the Rings.
How many times have you watched those things?
It couldn't count.
Ooh.
I've lost so many hours to Lord of the Rings. Extended editions, because shame on you if you're not.
Oh, really? With the director
3.5
comments
hours
as well?
and everything. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I watch those once every 6 months. I'll put the entire trilogy on. The Hobbit is pretty decent too, but I'll mostly stay with Lord of the Rings. Old school medieval fantasy, cartoons. Game of Thrones is a big one, and then I've got idols out there like the whole collective of Weta Workshop, like Richard Taylor, Peter Lyon, Chris Minges. There's artists that are so skilled. I can't help but to like just be in awe of how they do the things they do and aspire to reach their level. You know what I mean? And then local friends as well. You know, Logan Long, Dave Powell. friends like that. Dave Powell's basically my twin. He's just
really?
a couple inches shorter than me, but same everything. Same skill set, same everything. But he's also so good that I'm just like, it's a pleasure to work with closest friends that are also big inspirations. So comic books from the 90s, old school movies that have anything sword and fantasy and stuff like that, anything armor, 13th Warrior. I've got a terabyte of just straight medieval movies that I'll watch over and over again. Old school, early on, it was comic books and art books, video games and stuff like that, which I still pull a lot of my, and I wouldn't say reference or resources, but inspiration from, because it's disrespectful and disingenuous to copy something that already exists. It's okay to borrow from it in the sense that, like, I like that, I'm going to make something completely different, but along that same vein of fantasy. So, yeah.
And also, you mentioned Game of Thrones and games. It also shows you what the audience wants right now.
Yes,
right? Because
absolutely.
they are always evolving.
Tell me about
as
it.
well.
Yeah, like in the mid 2000s, archery was the biggest thing in the world, because you had like Legolas, you had elves everywhere, you had Katniss Everdeen with the Hunger Games.
It was a huge
so
thing.
much archery everywhere. So bows went out of stock everywhere. Bows and arrows went insane, which is awesome, because archery is like meditation that you can feed yourself with or defend yourself with. That's why I like it. But yeah, I'm glad stuff like that is catching on. And now, and of course, back in like early 90s, late 80s, when I grew up, being a nerd wasn't awesome. It was, that guy, So none of that stuff was cool. Now we're living in hog heaven with everything nerdy being very cool and mass produced. So we get really cool inspiration.
It is very nerdy now, and you see this a lot with millennials especially. They want to do it, for example, lost wax casting. I can 3D print anything, but you have a lot of silversmiths that they want to know the whole process of that.
Absolutely.
And they will be loyal to that technique, which is a legacy, right? So lost wax casting is what's crossing my mind, but the whole medieval thing, right? And the arrows and everything else is like preserving something.
The grunge of the outfits of the costumes. That's another one of my favorite pieces is costumery. I love costuming. And I love it, again, I love when it looks like you got off a dead body in a battlefield, not from Viking Walmart. The grunge on it, the greasy textures, like it looks like he lived in that thing for a year. The attention to that kind of detail to both props and costuming is just awe-inspiring. You know what I mean? It's
fantastic. Let's look at some more of your pieces. So here we have an armor, right?
So the shoulder pauldrons, or spalders, I grabbed off of, I think, an old movie set I used to work on, and just held them, because I haven't gotten to shaping metal yet. But I am well-versed in leather forming and tooling. So the chest piece and the helmet there, that's all veg tan leather. Forever ago, I saw, coming back to Weta, Weta is like the New Zealand special effects, like pinnacle, like the Valhalla of the Asgard of special effects. And they did a special with Jamie Savage on making armor, and I love the way he's used the techniques. And while I've made 3 or 4 different chest and backs, I watched his video and saw other techniques I'd never even dreamed of. And I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. I want to try that. So though I've already done the technique before, I saw other techniques I could push into, and then did. And then boom, that I think built in a day.
I think this is a costume, right?
Yep, that's me at Evermore Park. This costume was built out by David Powell, and that's my Kasai bow. And so I also sideline as a bit of an actor and goofy archery instructor.
I have a comment here, actually, and we can dive into that.
No worries.
George Farrell is saying, Josh, we met in Evermore, and I have been following you since. You helped me hook the ring of the Bimini ring game.
Right, yep.
Thank you, by the way. I want to get into leatherworking. Advice on getting started. Also, what are some pitfalls to be aware of? So, let's answer this in 3.
Absolutely, yep.
First, tell people what is Evermore, because it's really a very cool concept that we have here, right?
So Evermore is a live-action role-playing interactive theme park that's based in medieval, steampunk, Viking, dragon-esque, Victorian, Charles Dickens Christmas, all this potluck of everything I just said.
It gets many generations there, right?
Many flavors are added to this amalgam. So it's a place where you can go and where it's like a backdrop of a movie set. The movie is already there, all the backdrops are already built, the set's already built, the actors are there, and you go and you get put on these quests. So it's like playing Skyrim, only you actually get to go and dress up in a costume and interact with other people, actors in costume, that puts you on a story and quest. And one of the quests is archery and axe throwing, and you have to get a bullseye or you have to hit the target. And then you have to do the same thing with an axe in order to become a Blackheart, which is another character base over there. And also, the grilled shrimp aren't that bad. The grilled shrimp are amazing.
It's really good.
Street corn.
That might take me there.
Oh, yeah.
So little Shahar gets to Evermore in her own costume. And then what? Will I feel totally out of place? Is there a place there for a lady like me?
Yeah, there's half and half. So half of the people love wearing their own costumes. They don on some wigs and elf ears, and they go out and have a great time with their friends. And you can come alone, or you can come with a group of 20 friends, and all do the same good stuff. And there's the people that don't want to dress up and just want to hang out in clothes. They get to go on the quest as well.
Okay.
You get to walk around and see stuff. You get to try your hand in archery and axe throwing. You get to see live shows. You get to see a live reptile and bird show that we put on as well. That's really nice. So there's plenty of stuff for everyone that would wear costume as well as go without costume.
Right.
I prefer to dress up in costume.
I know, you like it.
And go goof off. That's just me.
I have a friend actually that he says it's his new favorite place on earth.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, he's a nerd, but you know.
And that's speaking from a fan's perspective. From an employee's perspective, it's also kind of my favorite place on earth.
I bet.
It's hard because I'll go there at like 8:30, 9 in the morning to start my normal work day, and then the park opens at 6 p.m. And then I'll just go into the park and walk around until like 11 or midnight.
Nice.
And then go back in the next day and just keep doing stuff.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
I read, I think, at the Utah Business Magazine yesterday, actually, I got an email, that one of the people that started the park was actually a Disney Imagineering, right?
Yeah, we have a couple Imagineers that are directors of the park, Josh Shipley and Josh Stedman. Josh Shipley's our creative
Tons
CEO.
of Josh there.
Oh, and I'm a Josh, so
Yeah.
that's why they call me Warbear.
Okay,
They call me Warbear. That's how I
it.
got the nickname
So
Warbear.
they know who it is.
So
Okay.
we're calling that guy. So yeah, we have these guys that are directors of the park. They're creative guys and set design and install guys and everything like that. And I actually work under Josh Stedman, which is a former Disney Imagineer that does a lot of set design stuff. I think he's
So you
also
have to
has
be a
his
very
hand in
lucky
like
guy.
Mamma Mia, as
Oh,
well
really?
as the Johnny Depp movie with the barber, the demon barber.
Oh, yeah,
Fleet Street.
Caesar's Hand?
Sweeney Todd.
Oh,
That's right.
Sweeney
Yeah.
Todd. Okay.
So he's doing that over in I forget where we're at.
Nice. All the power to Evermore.
Absolutely.
So George here wants to know, I want to get into leatherworking. Advice on getting started. So,
Right.
of course, you have tons of tools. You do this professionally.
Right.
Let's talk about the basics here and how much a person would invest to get started.
I'd look for, first off, hi George, how's it going? I heard you were looking for me around Evermore Park Friday or Saturday night. They said that there was a guy that was coming around that said I helped him hook the rings, and he was trying to email me.
Ooh.
I'm so sorry. But yeah.
It's hard to get around.
It's
just hard to get in touch.
I can give, is it okay if I give my email address?
Of course it is.
If anyone has any questions at any time, send an email to warbear@evermore.com. That's WARBEAR @evermore.com. So reach out to me on there. If I gave you a card or another email address, I haven't gotten any of those emails. I apologize. Either way.
So the basics
So
to
the
get
basics, look forward to spending around $300 to $500 right off.
Okay, not
That's
bad.
on a big kit of tools. Tandy Leather has a bucket that's like the beginner's kit that has scissors and awl and stuff like that. I prefer to like jump in and just kind of buy at random the first like $100 worth of things.
Okay.
But the problem with that is I spent $100 and then found out I was missing a whole bunch of other stuff that I needed to complete that project.
Yeah, but it's a reason to go back.
Absolutely. So I went back and spent another couple $100. And
So some basic tools.
Basic tools.
What kind of leather is the best one to get started?
I liked veg tan anywhere from 4 to 6 to 10 to 12 ounce. 10 to 12 ounce will be your thick armor grade armors, which are very tough and sturdy. And then 3 to 4, and then between them, 3 to 4 would be the softer ones. 2 to 3 ounce is kind of like a floppy like this. Whereas 4 to 6 and then above is more of like your softer armor grade leathers and your bracelets and stuff like that. So
does he need a sewing machine for this, or
no, not at all.
Not
No,
at all,
no.
because they are not cheap.
No,
right?
I've been doing it for like 15 years, and I've never once bought a sewing machine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we
I
are
do
going to
everything
have
by
fun at
hand.
this course.
Yeah, I've done everything by hand, so I watch Netflix and just.
Yeah, that's how I do too. What are some pitfalls to be aware of?
Spending money, becoming obsessed over making things, spending time away from family and loved ones because you're stuck in your garage or your bedroom at night making stuff. I don't know if those are pitfalls or not. They are for, I guess, other people. For me, it's pretty awesome because I'm just making stuff obsessively.
Yeah.
Pitfalls would definitely be failure every so often, because sometimes you have an idea in your head and it just doesn't come to fruition, whether it's lack of experience and skill or whether it's just sometimes your materials just don't work with you. Sometimes you get a piece of leather that has a bit too much stretch in it and play in it, has a couple spots in it that just aren't really well. That's why, again, I choose to make really ugly, distressed leather, because that just incorporates itself into the design.
Awesome.
So yeah, the pitfalls are going to be spending money and a large 15 by 15 area of your dwelling being covered in rivets and fur. But to be fair, I've always smelt amazing, because leather smells
Leather is
really
awesome,
good.
yes.
So that's my deodorizer everywhere. I just throw leather on shelves and just wait for it to permeate.
That's so cool.
Trying to think of other pitfalls. Sometimes you're going to jab your finger. Sometimes you're going to smack your pinky with a hammer.
Yeah.
It's just standard stuff. And that's like, spending too much money and looking for great deals is what you're going to want to do, because, again, I mentioned the pitfall with money. If you haven't taken time to really research what you're trying to buy and what it costs somewhere, you're going to end up spending a ton more money somewhere else than you may have been able to save just doing a little bit of shopping for it.
Good.
Yeah.
I was thinking here that my daughter used to think I was just weird. The thing of
I can relate.
half of the house being for that, and the obsessiveness,
Yeah.
the non-stop, constant need to create.
Absolutely.
But now she knows it's actually a kind.
You kind of have to get
Yes.
used to it or
We
move
are
on.
all
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's how
there
I
is no
felt
end to
about
that.
it.
Poor them.
I went from having a drawing desk in my room growing up in the small little trailer in Georgia that I grew up in, to being, what was it? I think I was 22, 23, 23, 24 when I got into leatherworking. And my room became crazy. There was a small bed in the corner of the room with an alpaca mat over the top of it to sleep on, like a fur mat, and a TV with an Xbox, and then a giant desk full of leather, full of like wood burners, woodworking machines, and then just totes. Everything in my room became totes of stuff. So I had totes full of Viking written on the side of it, Renaissance, Dark Ages, steampunk, superhero, just costumes, and started just getting separated. And then it was just, like the end of Jeepers Creepers, the horror movie where he's just sitting on the stool half naked, stitching something like all crazy. That's kind of how it became. I just, every day of my life was Netflix and leatherworking or drawing.
Yeah.
So I lived in an apartment for a while, and I lived upstairs. Anytime you live upstairs in an apartment, go downstairs, meet your neighbor, make real good friends with them, buy them whatever they want, because
Bring some gifts.
they're about to hear a lot of hammering on
dun.
everything. So I did that, and she would send me a text when it was time to stop, and I go, yep, sorry, no problem. So I would get up at 9 o'clock in the morning, way back when I was just doing nothing but this. 9 o'clock in the morning till 9:30 at night, leatherworking and watching Netflix. Then from 9:30, I'd turn off the leatherworking, get out the sketch pad and the Photoshop, and I would start sketching and doing graphic design and stuff till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
and then repeat for like 3 years.
That is how you master something. Now,
Absolutely.
if anybody comes to visit and touches something, you go, sacred to,
Right.
no,
Yep.
no.
Nope, yep. Little spray bottle on. Yeah.
Yeah, the water like you do with the dog. Stacy Bond is asking, out of all the things that
Stacy
you
Bond.
yourself makes, machines or designs that gives you the most satisfaction or enjoyment at the end of the process? Machines or designs?
Can I read that question?
Yes, you can.
Sorry. My brain just dissected it and made it into something not. Out of all the things that you... Oh. I don't know. That's a hard call. Like, I've yet to make full-on machines, but if you're asking me designing or using the machines to create, I think that might be what it is.
And enjoyment at the end of the process. So is that your case? Where's the enjoyment for you? In the process, at the end,
the very end. Like the last
end.
3/4 is the first like quarter is just straight math and Sharpie marker on stuff. And that's mostly sword and also leatherworking, I guess, as well. It's just designing and building and thinking it might work. Right where you start to dye the leather and you start bending it around and forming it around and riveting everything together, that's the most satisfactory. You're just like, you're seeing it come together. And then getting to wear it is another one. You get to wear it, and that's probably the most fun I've had in a while, is putting my stuff on and going, ha ha ha, me.
Badass.
And, so, you know, that's where most of the enjoyment comes out of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see one more piece that you made.
That is probably the second or third knife sheath I ever made.
Oh.
And so
gorgeous.
way back forever ago in Georgia, I used to pick up lawnmower blades, and me and my dad would actually grind lawnmower blades to be knives.
Really?
Yeah. So the first 2 knives I ever made were with my father, probably actually way longer than. I take that back. We made a sword together forever ago, and it was the worst looking sword you'd ever seen. But it was one of those things where me and my dad never connected. So, you know, how are you going to connect if you've got a southern gentleman that loves fishing, hunting, and camping, and this scrawny little nerd kid that loves video games and comic books? Well, I like swords, and I wanted to make a sword, and my dad knew leather or metal work and woodwork, so he helped me make one, and I was just, oh, this is so cool. And then I would forget about that, and then later on, we would make a lawnmower blade knife, and it wasn't a good knife at all, but I would eventually get more skills and then revisit and refine, and then I made a sheath for it.
That's fantastic. It's a very gorgeous
and
piece.
And the first probably 10 knives I had, I gave to all my family members. It was my grandmother, my mom, my aunt, my siblings all came to visit me when I lived in Florida, and I laid out all the knives I just made, and I was like, yeah, go ahead, pick you one, Mom. And Mom grabbed one, and Grandma and Aunt, and everyone grabbed, so all the knives I had went right out the window right away.
Good.
But, you know, without them, I never would have done any of this, so it's, you know, pay the piper, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, and you mentioned the connection point with him being a hunter and whatever, but he knew woodworking.
Right.
And metalwork.
Right, which he would teach me then woodworking.
Which also legacy, right? If we
Absolutely.
talk about wood carving, how hard it is to pass this to the other generation. But that's exactly what he did.
Absolutely. Me and my father actually built the house that my family lived in for a while. And back then it was just annoying, hard work that I didn't want to do, that I had to do, or Dad was going to beat me with a stick. And then later on, I would get contracted to be pulled out to Utah from Florida and start building sets for film. And I was only supposed to be out there for 3 months, and I ended up being out there for like 2 years. But I remember like being on a 30-foot wood structure, you know, doing everything that my dad had taught me, and I was like, everything he taught me came in handy now. That's the only reason I have this job.
And you saw the importance of all this, right? What made in your journey.
He passed down techniques to me that didn't seem important at the time, because I was an ungrateful little child that would rather play Game Boy instead of doing anything.
But you couldn't see your future at
that
point.
No.
And we tell this at Curious Mondo all the time, you know, that you never know who you're going to inspire. Your job is to show. Yes. Your job is, if they ask, to answer. Right? And then they follow their journey. You never know. It might be years later.
Absolutely. And then I'm keenly interested in seeing where they end up. You know what I mean? You know, it doesn't even matter that I helped on that journey. I just like to see where people end up and what they do.
Yes.
You know,
and see them happy at the end. Bree is asking, did you say how long you've been doing leather work?
2009. 2009,
around
2008,
that?
something like that. So 10, 15 years, I don't remember.
Brenda Helfrich, are you inspired by Boris Vallejo?
Yes, Boris Vallejo is an amazing artist. I had art books of his from way back when I could remember.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. All Boris, and I'm trying to think of other names in my head right now. Everyone that drew Conan, like Steve Ditka and stuff like that. Fantasy painters as well as comic book artists. I had a Bible just section of amazing illustrated art books
Nice.
that I still collect today and just throw them up on the shelf.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. George Dutson, thank you so much, Josh. My wife will want to learn as well, so we are good. I will be sending you an email, or 12 for sure. Look forward to seeing you around Evermore.
Absolutely. You as
Deborah
well.
Twin, I really want to see the class. So let's talk a little bit. Oh, and Karen Baker, I know she went on a
Yeah,
tour
yeah,
with you.
Karen.
I got so jealous.
Karen.
Oh,
is-
hi,
Ooh.
Warbear. She's cool.
Ka-
She's cool
Karen,
and crazy,
yeah.
right?
Karen's dangerous.
Then
you
that's
know.
what I think.
I would say I taught her to throw axes, but man,
She didn't throw at
she
you,
already,
right?
she already
Because she
knew.
throws stuff at
it
people.
felt like she already knew how to throw axes. She like was possessed by the spirit of a Viking warrior, a Valkyrie, if you will. And yeah, she was just splitting wood left and right.
Yeah.
Still has to work on that archery though.
Yeah, but she throws things at people, so you have to be careful.
Yeah, definitely.
So, of course, you have a course upcoming here in about 2 months on Curious Mondo.
Mm-hmm.
Before you tell us what you're going to be covering, what you showed is very medieval. You show at cons and
Mm-hmm.
conventions. But is this something for someone, maybe, I don't know, a jewelry maker, somebody that is,
Sure, absolutely.
have other venues to sell and other audience to sell to?
Mm-hmm.
Would this be useful for them?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that every crafting aesthetic is interchangeable with everything. So not only do I do leather work, I make necklaces and stuff too. Anything reclaimed, it's funny because a lot of time what we'll do is we'll go looking for like deer skeletons and stuff like that. Stuff, just dead things in nature that have just been bleached. And we'll clean them up and I'll bore holes in them and make jewelry out of the bones, or
Oh.
I'll make a claw necklace and everything like that. So, and jewelry making is super fun. My hands are too big to get into the fine
little
details of
things,
it
yeah?
for now. So I'm stuck with the big stuff, which is why my phone is about that size. Tablet size.
But your techniques
Techniques
right, can be applied in different shapes and forms.
Because you always need a strand of leather to tie on, or some sinew to lace up, or a rivet to punch in and then hammer down. And tooling is basically leather jewelry in itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're taking a blank surface and carving into it and making this relief that goes on you.
Yeah.
So
That's phenomenal.
absolutely.
And what do you plan to cover on this class that is coming?
I plan to cover everything from pattern making to leather theory to aesthetic theory to dyeing and aging process to the philosophy of the piece to the final wrap up of maybe a little bit of life, love, romance, and philosophy.
That's good. That's good. I like
I
those.
tend to touch on everything.
Why not?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Why you're
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So his course is already open for registration. You find it at curiousmondo.com. Go to upcoming courses, and you will find it there. Register. It is free to watch the whole thing while we are live. This is a 9-class course. We are going to be together for 3 days, so it's really in depth. You know what Josh said at the beginning, that it was really hard to find people that would tell their secrets. Well, he is going to tell all his secrets, and you're going to get started on a very fun journey. We actually we were looking for somebody to teach leatherwork here for quite a long time.
I've been here for forever now.
Yeah.
I know. I've just been down the road.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
But you don't know what you don't know. But we finally met
Absolutely.
through somebody in California, Noemi
Right,
Smith,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
She introduced us, and here we are. He's amazing. And more than the leather work, I think you make things fun and with meaning, right?
Well, they have to be fun. I mean, I'm a living testament to school teachers not being fun means I didn't learn anything. That's why I didn't learn math until college, because 1 + 1, okay, fractions. If you can explain it into a way that's fun for everyone, you want to pay attention. You want to learn. Well, that's why I got low grades in all my classes, because I would rather draw and write and make stuff. So you just make it fun. People want to learn. They want to pay attention.
Yes.
And they accept the information in their brains way more easily because
Especially
it was fun.
now, right? I mean, it's clearly you were a lot younger than I am, but when I went to school, it was really boring because you were
Super
not
boring.
supposed to say anything, right?
Yeah.
And they would
Hit
just
with a stick.
Yeah, it was a memorizing job. So, for example,
Yeah.
math for me has always been an issue.
Right.
But today people don't accept that anymore,
Yeah.
right? They don't want to be told what to do. They want a mentor.
So I didn't get really good at math until I found out I had to use it to make a sword.
Huh.
And then the moment I correlated swords with math,
That came together.
I started like, oh my God, all this makes sense now because I want to learn and I have something to apply it to that is my interest.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I hope to have that someday because I'm so bad
Maybe
at
Curious
math.
Mondo can do a fractions class. You know?
I'm not going to be the host, just say. Man, it's so bad, you know, that I did training many years ago to, I don't know how to say that in English, but when you do on-time translation, so you're talking and I'm talking
Right,
another
yeah.
language, everything went always extremely fine until there was a number involved. I really have a block.
Because your mind is on one track and numbers are a completely different
Yes,
one.
and then
hard to switch.
my mentor came to me and said, you do have a block
Right.
with numbers.
Absolutely.
Because it was every single time.
Yeah.
I had no issue translating, like, you know, almost simultaneously, really. Came a number, everything got screwed up.
Right.
So, whatever. Those boring teachers.
Absolutely.
Okay, Kathy Baldwin, love this interview. BJ Stewart, do you make corsets?
The one with Curious Mondo, yes, I do. Is that the one?
No, corsets for...
Oh, corsets.
Yes.
I said courses, sorry. No, not really. I like making stuff that I can wear. And granted, I could wear a corset. Obviously, I don't need one. So I've made a couple bodices before, and they're fun to make. The thing with a guy and a girl is a guy is easier to make stuff for because A, I'm a guy, so I can try it on my own body, and that's fine. But girls have a little bit more of an hourglass shape to them. So there's a whole lot more math and angles that you have to go for. So there's a lot more heavy patterning. Whereas a guy is basically a square. I'm basically a giant rectangle. So I know, okay, that's what that is right there. So that's what this is right here. Whereas a female is much more blessed with curvaceous form. So lot more crazy math involved in it.
Yeah. But I like that
possible,
you make stuff that you would wear or use,
Absolutely,
right? So
yeah.
take a look at our existing courses for some cosplay. There is actually one on pattern that she covers corsets there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Bree is asking, do you have a website we can view more of your work? So tell them all the ways they can get in touch with you.
So all the ways you can get in touch with me.
You're going to be busy.
407-555, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to my phone number. I mean, if you want, it's fine. But either way, so I have a website. It's darkarcherdesign.com. But I'm very lax about digital stuff when it comes to webs. So I don't have a lot of stuff up there. There is an email form that you can send to me that I will answer eventually when I find it. But there's a lot of really good, fun gallery photos up there. My Facebook is a good way to get in contact with me because Facebook.
So it's Joshua
Von Warbear. So Joshua Von Warbear, and that's VON space WAR-BEAR. My Instagram, which is Dark Archer Design, _s between Dark and Archer Design. Follow me on there, and you can send me messages on any of those platforms, and I can help you out anytime you need.
Fantastic.
And as far as corsets go, I wanted to touch on the techniques I'll be teaching. You can apply it to basically anything. I like to teach things, here's how I do it, here's why I do it, and here's how you can apply that to 4 other different venues of things. So all the same techniques I'm going to be teaching are the same that I would use for corsets, just a different shape. Whereas a bracelet would be my wrist, a corset would be a body. You know what I mean? So same stuff, same aging techniques, rivets, stitching, whatever you want to apply to that.
I'm really excited about that.
As am
Can't
I.
wait that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just 2 months away. I don't have the date here, but go there, register. Again, it's free for you to watch. Get some leather. If you have some tools, put them around and we'll get going, right?
Absolutely.
Any final words to our audience?
Don't be afraid to fail. It's fun.
Awesome.
About it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And guys, thank you very much for being here and interacting with us. Remember, this is going to stay wherever you're watching or any podcast platform out there. Tell your friends about it, including groups, because as you saw, nothing is being sold here. Everything is free. So tell people to know more about Leatherworking. It's upon our shoulders to get all these amazing art forms alive. And when we share, we are helping doing that, okay? I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Thank you so much.
Thank you.